So good morning, everyone. Today's class is about history taking of the throat. Just hold a second. Just hold a second. Okay. So today's it's going to be a very small topic. I've got just 15 slides or something. It wouldn't take much of your time. As you take any history, you would start with the name, the age. You know, again, age in this case. Uh, if it's a younger age, you obviously think of an infectious process, and if it is an older age, you think of malignancies. That's the importance. In sex, if you say males, laryngeal carcinomas are more common, and in females, thyroid diseases are more common. So that is importance of knowing the age. Social status, again, low income group people. I think they tend toward to use tobacco and BD more often. So as a consequences, they are more prone to developing malignancies. Occupation, again, if you're like a teacher, there is vocal abuse, or a vegetable vendor or a politician, who's constantly using their voice, and there's a history of vocal abuse, these people are more prone to develop vocal nodules. So it is very important. So someone comes to you with a change in voice, if you know the occupation, you can to an extent know that okay, probably this is not going to be a malignancy, it's probably going to be a nodule which is causing the change in her voice. Okay. Again, residents, there may be lost some diseases which is endemic to that area. So, like in thyroid diseases. So that way you can just, that is importance of knowing where the patient is coming from. Then again, you have to take the chief complaints and describe your complaints. Take in history, obviously, these are the other histories that you need to take. Now, like I told in my last class, it is very important to take the patient's history in his or her own words. You know, like if he says change in voice, you have to say it as change in voice. You can't say something else like hoarseness of voice, because you know there is a chronological order in which you have to take. Say, suppose the patient comes to you with uh, difficulty in swallowing first, followed by change in voice, or change in voice followed by difficulty in swallowing. So it can be two different disease process. If someone presents to you with a change in voice, it could be a laryngeal malignancy, which is going upwards and causing difficulty in swallowing. And if it's the other way around, it is a hypopharyngeal malignancies which is going downwards. So you to make a diagnosis, it is very important to know what occurred first. Again, duration, if it is a short duration with pain, say suppose you have a parotid region swelling. If it is a short duration with pain, you can think of it as a acute inflammatory condition, like it could be parotitis. Again, if it was a long standing swelling without any pain, you can think of a pleomorphic adenoma. It is a new tumor. It is a tumor of your parotid. Now, if you have it is a long-standing tumor with slight pain, you can think of some inflammatory changes that has happened to the already exist. Suppose, like I told you, the pleomorphic adenoma, there can be some infective changes that has occurred. There is or it could be a chronic inflammatory condition. And if it was the same thing, it was a long-standing case with a severe pain, you can think of a malignancy. It could be mucoepidermoid carcinoma of the parotid. So if you know the duration of the swelling that the patient has come from, you can make a diagnosis just by knowing the duration of the symptoms, how long it has occurred. Again, in throat, you will have to deal with the oral cavity, the oropharynx, the laryngopharynx, the larynx, and the neck. What are the things that you can, complaints that you can have in the oral cavity? A person can come to you with oral ulcers, abscess ulcers, canker sores. That is one thing that they can come to you with. When there is any nutritional deficiencies or excess stress levels are high, they come to you with oral ulcers. Now, dry mouth, when you have adenoids or some malignancies that is compromising your airway, and there is a history of mouth breathing because of that, it can cause dry mouth. Now, they can have bad smell, halitosis, because of poor oral hygiene, their dental caries, not taking care of it, or because of ulcers. They're not able to swallow their saliva as often, because of pooling. malignancies, postnasal drip, they can all cause bad smell. Again, pain, there can be many causes of pain in the oral cavity. It could be dental, it could be salivary gland. So these are the things. Loss of taste, again, it could be a viral disease that can cause loss of taste. Excessive salivation because of poor hygiene or ulcers, again, like I told you. Then the patient can come to you with an tongue tie. Usually children come to you. The parents will be telling you कि मेरा बच्चा तुतलाता है. He's not able to articulate because the tip of the tongue is not able to touch the hard palate. So that is called tongue tie. In that case, you have to release the tongue tie so that and send the patient for speech therapy so he can improve his speech. Then there can be difficulty in opening the mouth. This happens in submucous fibrosis, especially when there is a history of chronic tobacco chewing. So there can it could be a malignancy which is in your retromolar trigone area. So because of that, there is a difficulty in opening the mouth. Then you can have various swellings, like I told you, either parotid or your neck or your inside your oral cavity, in the floor of the mouth. Swellings can occur anywhere. Okay. Then cleft palate, circumvallate papillae of the tongue, bleeding gums. These are different problems that a patient can come to you with problems in the oral cavity. Then coming to the oropharynx, again you can say sore throat. I think that is the most common complaint in your oropharynx, or a foreign body sensation. Because of your laryngopharyngeal reflux, LPR that you say, or there's some allergy. Because of chronic irritation, you can have allergy. If there is a malignancy, you can have foreign body sensation. Then can be difficulty in swallowing. Again, if there is any, suppose tonsillitis, your tonsils are inflamed, you have difficulty. You can have pain as well. Difficulty in swallowing, that's odynophagia. Painful swallowing is odynophagia, and difficulty in swallowing is dysphagia. Any malignancies, any infectious processes, quinsy, there's peritonsillar abscess, you have difficulty in swallowing. So then you can have regurgitation. Because of any palsy, any bulbar palsy, you can have nasal regurgitation, or regurgitation just as in, reflux disorders, you can have regurgitation. Again, snoring, because of your airway compromise. You have decreased airway, you have a bulky tongue, or you have a short neck, or you have adenoids, or tonsils which are covering most of your airway. So that can lead to snoring. Again, foreign bodies. When you're eating something, suppose fish bone is the most common foreign body that comes to us. Like fish bone has been lodged somewhere in your tonsillar fossa or anywhere in your pharynx, posterior pharyngeal wall. Okay, see, so these are the things that come to you in the oropharynx. And coming to the larynx, I think the most common thing that comes to you is change in voice. Now, change in voice, it is very important to know that people come to you with different types of change in voice. Someone can come to you with a hoarse voice. That in those cases, you have to usually think about some inflammatory condition of your larynx, or if there is an inflammatory or traumatic process or any neoplastic process that is happening in your larynx. If a patient comes to you with like a hot potato voice, he has a very bulky voice, like as if something is inside his voice, you have to think about something in the oropharynx mostly. Like it could be a malignancy of the base of the tongue, or it could be a peritonsillar abscess, which is, that is mostly in a oropharyngeal pathology that you have a, a hot potato voice. Again, a hoarse voice you can see in a patient with like a teacher. Suppose a teacher comes to you and she has hoarseness of voice. You have to think in the terms of a vocal polyp, vocal nodule, because nodules are more common in where there is history of voice abuse. Then you can have cracked voice. That is usually happens in males during the pubertal age. And then it's called puberphonia. So that could be a reason for change in voice. Again, in elderly, you can have vocal fatigue, which can cause change in voice. Sometimes you have a breathy voice. There could be some, paralysis of your recurrent laryngeal nerve, because of which one side is not, one side of your larynx is not moving. So that can also cause change in voice. And then another thing is functional. Sometimes young girls can come to you saying, oh, I have lost my voice. I mean, obviously that girl won't say. The person next to the attendant will be like, she has just lost her voice suddenly. So that could be a functional, girl. But you have to always rule out any other cause before terming the girl a functional person. Now, then, if there is repeated clearing of throat, that is another thing that most of the patients in our OPD they come with. It's because of gastroesophageal reflux disease or chronic laryngitis. The patient tends to keep clearing the throat. Then difficulty in breathing. Now, a patient can come to you with a stridor, like a noisy breathing, or difficulty in breathing because of infections or tumors. So that is another thing that that usually happens when there is a laryngeal malignancy. The patient comes because the airway is compromised and the air is not able to pass through the narrowed airway. So there is a difficulty in breathing Then you can have cough and expectoration. You have different types of cough. If it is a dry cough, you can think of laryngeal irritation. If there is sputum, you have to think about lower airway disease. And you can have various neck swellings. It could be a metastatic neck swelling, because of laryngeal malignancies or any malignancies for that matter. Or it could be anterior neck swelling, thyroid swellings, or there are multiple neck swellings. So that's another thing that can come to you. Now, what is coming to the history of presenting complaints? Always talk about if there is any cause because of which the complaint is presented to you. Suppose, let me take for example change in voice itself. If it is because of a long-standing, he has a history of history of voice abuse. You can think of suddenly I screamed very badly and then I suddenly lost my voice. So you can think of a vocal hemorrhage of that sort. Or if it is if it is a gradual onset, like a teacher again I told you, or a vegetable vendor, he constantly uses his voice, because of which he could have developed a vocal nodule. So if there is any or it could be a trauma. Suppose someone hit him on the neck, that could have caused. So you always ask for any cause for the onset of the symptom. And again, like I told you, duration is very important. Like how long has the patient been having these symptoms? If it is short duration, then you have to think about acute causes. If it's a longer duration, you have to think about a chronic or a neoplastic cause. And again, progress, like every other this thing, you have to talk about the progress. If it is slow or rapid, intermittent, continuous, increasing, decreasing, all that is important. And any factors which is aggravating the cause. If I scream more, my voice is just gone. If I take rest, my voice comes back that way. And then, are you taking any treatment for the same? And how long have you been taking treatment? Has it, impacted your lifestyle? Always look for negative answers. Then again, past history, always, as in taking all other histories, you have to take the past history. And, if there is any diabetes or hypertension, bleeding disorders, everything is like normal, any traumas, any hospital admission, surgeries, all this is important. Any drug history, if the patient is on any drugs, because many times, if a patient can come to you with hypersalivation, he might be taking some anticonvulsants because of which he's having hypersalivation. So that is, all the drug history is important. Any allergies, you can have chronic allergy to any drug, or you're probably something that you're eating is causing the irritation in your throat. So all that is important. Then personal history again, there smoking is very important, because smoking and alcohol is responsible for many of the malignancies. So especially in a throat case, it is very important to ask the smoking history, how much he is taking, and how much he's smoking, what exactly he's smoking, is it cigarette or BD, or all that is important. Then family history again, in a history of malignancies, if it is a thyroid patient coming to you with a thyroid disease, it is always important to know if the patient family mein kisi ko there is thyroid disease or thyroid malignancies and related things. Okay, I don't think you need to know about the inspection part of it, but I'll just give you a rough idea, so when you start the inspection, you have to ask the patient to remove any dentures. If it is an elderly patient using dentures, you have to ask them to remove the dentures. And you start by inspecting the lips. Start to look at the vermilion border, corners of the mouth and look for any deviation. I think last time I told you about facial paralysis. So look for any deviation of the angle of the mouth. Then you retract the upper lip with the front teeth close together and note the maxillary labium, frenulum, gingiva. I'll show you a picture so that you can, yeah. So that's your maxillary labial frenulum. You retract the lip and then you start noticing all these, gingival line, that's the gingiva, the vermilion border. And another thing, you have to look for the oral hydration. If there's dryness of the mouth, if there is any halitosis, look for missing teeth, dental caries, ulcerations, hemangioma. You can see any, you might find something a little bluish, or there's a little tiny bulge. Look for hemangiomas. Always use a bright light. Use a tongue depressor. Depress the tongue, and then you can use a tongue depressor to look at the buccal mucosa as well. Look at your uvula, soft palate. Okay. You can ask the patient to tilt their head upwards, and you can inspect the hard palate. Then again, you can look at your buccal mucosa, your parotid region, to see if there is any secretions coming. You can do slightly massage the outer part and see if there is any secretions coming. That's the Stenson's duct opening next to your second molar, upper second molar. Okay. That you can rule out any parotid problems there. Then for examination of the larynx, you will have to do an indirect laryngoscopy. I think we have a class coming up on indirect laryngoscopy, so you will learn about that. And then you have to know about all your cranial nerves. Your 9, 10, especially your voice will be related to your 10th nerve. So all that will be seen when you in your laryngeal examination, and laryngeal examination with the 10 you will find out. The rest of it, 7, 9, 12 and all, you have to assess it. I think that's it. Throat may, I think this is sufficient. Anybody has any questions?